back on the road. We'll hear from head coach Mike Budenholzer on this unusual start to this three-game road trip. Plus, a new season means some new responsibilities for the two-time reigning NBA MVP. How the importance of Giannis is being magnified this season. And bench mob starting to get back to their dominant ways. Our Zora Stevenson with more on their play of late and how one guy has shined big time off the bench as Bucks Live starts right now. By Freighter in the Medical College of Wisconsin. It is a 2019 Eastern Conference Finals rematch as the Bucks are in Tampa. That's right, Tampa, to take on the Raptors. That's because Toronto is playing their home games in Tampa because of COVID restrictions north of the border. Now, this has been a very evenly matched series over the last few seasons. As you can see right here, each team has won 8 games since the 2017-18 season. They've split that 16-game stretch, and obviously we know what happened in the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago as Giannis, you see right there, making his way into Amalie Arena with his new JBL headphones. I know Steve and I were talking about this. We're very jealous of that because those are pretty nice, and it's probably a nice little penny he's getting paid to just wear those. He's Steve Novak. I'm Dario Melendez. This is Bucks Live pregame report. So they snapped their 2-game losing streak on Sunday with a nice win over the Hawks. Now it's time to start stacking up some more wins because they're on the road, a place that they haven't done too well thus far this season, and they need to start getting wins against quality opponents.
They certainly do, but they got back on track, like you said, against Atlanta, and they also got to spend a little bit of time in the sun, got down to Tampa. Yes, the Toronto Raptors are playing in Tampa. It is confusing. We're in a studio. The Bucks are playing the Toronto Raptors, not in Toronto. We'll get it all figured out by the end of the show. But the Milwaukee Bucks are back on track, and these two teams certainly have a lot of history. It's going to come down to them coming out playing like they did against Atlanta last game.
Yeah, it's like one of those old Looney Tune commercials. They're playing Toronto in Tampa, Jim's in Milwaukee, we're in Brookfield. It's all over the place. The one thing we do know is that the Bucks need to start winning on the road, and they need to start winning against quality opponents. We see what they've done thus far this season. Early in the season it is, but on the road they're just 3-4 away from Milwaukee, and 9 of their next 11 games will be against road opponents. So that's a huge stretch coming up for them, and on top of that, the combined record of those 9 teams, 73-75. That's near 500. Thus far this season, the Bucks are just 3-5 against teams above 500. They're going to have to start getting things going against better teams, especially on the road. But this is going to be a weird start. Toronto and Tampa?
It's just very strange. You know, I think, you know, they're such a good team, such a great organization, had a lot of success, and their fan base and their city, you know, is unique, and it's become part of the fabric of playing in the East and playing in the NBA, and you know, but to play here in Tampa and spend a couple days here, you know, obviously warm weather is never a bad thing. But weird is a good word to just kind of probably wrap it up.
Yeah, it's definitely weird seeing the Bucks taking on the Toronto Raptors in Tampa, but you heard head coach Mike Budenholzer mention the fabric of Toronto as their fans. Well, the fabric of this Milwaukee Bucks team the past 2 years has been the bench, and Zora, that's no different this year.
They call themselves the bench mob, Dario. When the bench puts up points, good things happen for this Bucks team. On Sunday against the Hawks, 47 points from the reserves. DJ Augustine explains the approach that the second unit has.
It just makes it easier for the first unit. You know, when we can come in and score and either build the lead or bring things, you know, bridge that gap. You know, it makes it easier for them when they get back in the game. You know, our job is to come in and bring energy and you know, do different things. You know, but guys are very professional here. We understand, you know, our roles and what we're trying to accomplish as a team.
This next statistic that I'm about to give you all is a small sample size, but it explains the impact of the bench. Last 7 games, when the bench scores 20 or more points, the team is 5-0. If the bench scores less than 20, the team went 0-2. Dario?
As the Bucks go, apparently the bench goes as well. Thank you so much, Zora. And there's another little responsibility nugget we're going to get to in a little bit because Steve has some nice numbers on Giannis. But a guy that we want to stick with and continue our bench talk is Bobby Portis. Obviously, Drew Holiday's the big offseason acquisition by John Horst and this crew, but Bobby Portis, he's right up there. He's coming off a season-high 21 points on Sunday against the Hawks.
Yeah, and he really has been doing a great job of coming off the bench. And if there's anybody that's of the most importance as far as coming off the bench, having a spark, needing to have an impact every night, it certainly is Bobby Portis. He signed as a free agent, Dario, just like you said, by John Horst to come in, bring that spark, knock down shots. He is coming off a game against Atlanta where he just had 21 points. The bench really needed that spark after only having 16 points as a bench against the Lakers and only 19 points against the Brooklyn Nets in those two previous games. So Bobby Portis has been bringing it. He's scoring the ball. He needs to continue to do that as well. Bryn Forbes, DJ Augustine, that bench squad, like Zora also pointed out, as the bench goes, the Milwaukee Bucks have gone as well.
And look, Bobby Portis is off to a great start this season. Career highs in shooting and three-point shooting thus far, 54 and 42 respectively. But a guy that John Horst brought in to try to help shore up defensive stops and some defensive liabilities that the Bucks had last year was Torrey Craig. We hadn't seen him in a long time. Guess what? We got to see him on Sunday. And we're going to send it out to our game announcers, Marcus Johnson and Jim Paschke, with more on that.
Well, Dario, we saw Torrey Craig make his Bucks debut in Game 2 this season. Marcus has his basketball. That's a good sign.
Oh, yeah, always.
Made his debut in Game 2, broke his nose in Game 3, sat out 12, came back Sunday and played 13 minutes of basketball.
Yeah.
He had 4 points, 2 of 3 shooting, but I know you saw a lot more than that.
Well, I was interested, as were a lot of people in Milwaukee, just when he was going to get his opportunity, you know, against the LeBrons and KDs of the world. But I saw some things on Torrey Craig that I really, really liked and didn't know whether or not he would fit into this Milwaukee Buck unit offensively. Here, Giannis going to see a wall as he always does. Torrey Craig is always going to be open. He's a 32% three-point shooter, so they're going to leave him open. But he does a nice job here. Watch, just kind of attacking the closeout from Herter. And then a little two-on-one situation, a little pocket pass, hitting Drew on the move so Drew can do his thing with the hang time body control finish over Collins inside. And I really love this play. Don Nelson used to say it's about knowing when to run. He sees Chris Middleton's going to get that rebound. He's already starting down court, gets into a full-on sprint. Chris able to kick ahead. Then watch this return pass. Little give-and-go basketball, old school stuff. But he threads about 4 different defenders right on the money to his South Carolina homeboy from downstate. That's upstate. But just a couple of little small sample size offensive plays from him that just kind of impressed me. And hopefully we'll see more of that from Torrey Craig.
Yeah, don't look at the points, don't look at the shots. You have to see some other things, as Marcus always does. So Dario, Torrey Craig is an undrafted player with apparently a very uncharacteristic upside as we get used to watching him.
Especially when the Bucks are trying to become a little bit an early portion of his career. He is going to probably finish with every record in the Milwaukee Bucks record books by the time he's done. He started when he was 19 back in 2013. Now he's 26 in his 8th season. And Steve, really, as Giannis goes, this Bucks team goes, and we've seen a lot of that this season.
We really have seen that, and there are a lot of guys on most teams, the Bucks as well, that they can have a good game and still lose the game. Or there's a guy that can have a really bad game and the team can still win. That is just not the case, or the luxury that Giannis has. He has such an incredible responsibility to this Bucks team. In every single game the Bucks have won, Giannis has had a positive plus-minus, meaning in the minutes that he has played, the Bucks have scored more points than the opponent. And in every game that he's had a negative plus-minus in the game, the Bucks have lost. And so he is not a role player. He does have the ball in his hands. He dominates a lot of possessions. He has an incredible responsibility, and it's an interesting stat to just see that as Giannis goes, Milwaukee Bucks go. He just can't have a bad game. If he does, typically the Bucks do lose.
And the good news is he has a good supporting cast. We're going to be talking about Chris Middleton in a second. He's been great. Drew Holiday as well. But the guy the past few years has been Brook Lopez, who has been very under the radar, especially when it comes to rebounding and spacing. The last 4 games, he's been in double digits. He's really starting to come into his groove again, Steve, and it's paying off big time for the Bucks.
It is, and having him in a groove is a big deal because he spreads the floor, he stretches the court. For teammates like Giannis, he really is the ultimate role player. He's boxing guys out, Dario, like you said, but maybe not getting the rebounds. He's doing all the little things. But when he is playing well, the Milwaukee Bucks are a much better team. They need that big guy that's guarding him to be forced to come out and get out of the paint. The Milwaukee Bucks need him in the paint, scoring the ball, putting the ball on the ground like you saw him there, or really stretching the floor, scoring in double digits. The last 4 games, that kind of consistency, along with the way Giannis is playing, just a couple assists shy of a triple-double last game against Atlanta. When these two guys are both playing well, Milwaukee Bucks are really tough to beat.
So obviously you see the numbers the two big guys for the Bucks have put up. Let's get you updated on the Raptors big man, Pascal Siakam, and our Gruber lost his injury report. He's missed the last 2 games because of a knee injury. He will be back, but OG Anunoby going to be out because of the left calf strain. So good news, bad news. Bad news for the Bucks. They'll be facing off against one of the premier power forward big men in the game, Pascal Siakam. Still to come here on Bucks Live, Chris Middleton starting to really emerge as more than just a sidekick. The numbers he's been putting up and the company he's been keeping ahead. If you've been Mavericks, you had to play the Pelicans in Oklahoma City because of Hurricane Katrina. And obviously that must have been a little strange because you're in an arena you're not used to, a city you're not used to. But it had to be a good thing for Oklahoma City. And I'm guessing this is a good opportunity for Tampa to showcase what they could be as an NBA city possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. It is pretty much an interview for the city of Tampa. I think we just showed the success they're having across the board with sports, but for there to be an NBA team that is pretty much delivered to you because you have the arena, you have the ability to support that team, it really gives your fans an opportunity to showcase and see what kind of fans are they. Can they support this team? What kind of camaraderie did the city and the team build with one another? And so I think it's a very cool opportunity. Obviously, with COVID and the inability to travel as easily as I think probably Toronto would have liked, as well as NBA teams, it just worked out better that they ended up in Tampa. A little bit of sun, 75-degree weather today. That's not the worst thing in the world, but there's no doubt that for Tampa to have an NBA team, they have to be thrilled.
And look, the fans down in Tampa have showed up for the Rays when they've been good, for the Lightning when they've been good, for the Bucks this season that they've been good. And now that you have a team that has some of the better guards in the game in Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, fans have something to watch when they're in Tampa, and the Bucks are going to have something to keep their eyes on as well because these two have been dominant this season. They've been very good. VanVleet getting that 4 years, $85 million contract in the offseason. What do the Bucks need to do to try to contain this duo?
You know, the Bucks are built really to get into guys like this and be disruptive. When you got a guy like Drew Holiday and you can put him on a Fred VanVleet, who really is the head of the snake right now, Kyle Lowry, all-star, big-time player. These two guys really do make this team go. Pascal Siakam will be playing tonight, but if you can get into these guys, make it hard to run the offense, not allow them to shoot free, open, catch-and-shoot threes like this. You can see on a lot of these plays, they're the ones giving each other the ball. They're the ones creating their own shot. That's why they are so difficult to beat. That's why they are trouble. But the Bucks certainly are built to stop these guys. They've got good wing defenders, and I think certainly understand that if you can get into these guys, make it uncomfortable for them, don't let them run the offense, you give yourself a much better chance to win the game.
One of those wing defenders you're mentioning is Chris Middleton. Obviously, we know defensively he's very underrated. He's one of Coach Bud's go-to guys, but offensively, he's off to another phenomenal start. And at some point, Steve, people are going to start giving Chris Middleton the respect he deserves because he is just having another great all-star caliber season.
He is having a great season. And we just talked about Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Chris Middleton with the Milwaukee Bucks right now. His numbers are he would be the leading scorer, the second leading rebounder, and the third leading assist guy on the Toronto Raptors. That's our Chris Middleton, who's the second guy basically to Giannis. So it really is impressive. He quietly goes about his business. He gets so much done. He's really top 25 in the entire league in player efficiency. Doesn't take too many shots, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, makes pretty much every single one of his free throws. So Dario, you're right. He's underrated. He's under the radar a little bit, but he is a big-time player. He's helping the Bucks be exactly who they are right now.
And you see where he ranks among league leaders who score at least 20 points, shoot over 50% from the field, 40 from 3, and 90 from the free throw line. He's at the very top. Remember, last year, he was almost a 50, 40, 90 guy, came up just short in the field goal percentage category, but we'll see if he can close it out this year. He's obviously one of the most dominant basketball players in the world, but for this Bucks team, they're going to need him, and there are going to be a couple keys to this game to beat a very good Toronto Raptors team. So for the first time, I think ever, we're going to do not one, but two Menards tools to win. And first off, the big Menards tools to win is what, Steve?
Is guarding the three-point line, because there are only 3 teams in the NBA right now that are making more threes per game than the Milwaukee Bucks. The Raptors happen to be one of them, and it is really one of the Achilles heels of the Milwaukee Bucks. In Bucks wins, they are allowing just 11 made three-pointers per game in games. In losses, they're allowing 18. So the Raptors shoot the 3-ball, and the Bucks have not been guarding it well. They've got to get out on those guys and really make sure that they take that away. And the second key, Dario, is going to be continuing to attack that paint. The Toronto Raptors do an excellent job of guarding the paint and locking that down. They only allow 40 points per game to their opponents scoring in the paint. Now, they're going up against Giannis. Bobby Portis tonight could be different. Last game, the Bucks scored 60 points against the Atlanta Hawks. We'll see if they can keep that pace up, do the same thing to the Toronto Raptors. Siakam will be out there. He'll certainly be in the middle of the paint trying to disrupt Giannis. We'll see how that goes.
You know, just because we're feeling nice, we'll give you one more Menards tools to win. It's going to be interesting because the Raptors are a team that likes to foul a lot. The Bucks are a team that doesn't like to make their free throws. And Steve, this could be a big key to the game, knocking down those free throw shots.
It absolutely is. The Bucks over the last 5 games are actually the second worst team in the league knocking down their free throws, and the Raptors send their opponents to the free throw line 25 free throw attempts per game. So I really think in this kind of game, if it comes down to free throw shooting, there's a lot of fouls by the Raptors, but the Bucks, if they can knock them down, I think it can be the difference in the game.
All right, coming up next here on Fox Sports Wisconsin, it's going to be Bucks basketball from Tampa, Florida. Bucks and Raptors. Jim Paschke, Marcus Johnson have your call. Zora Stevenson, your in-game report. A little keepy-uppy going on. Pascal Siakam back